The Filipino American Cancer Care now brings you On the Air with FACC, tributes and support to those impacted by cancer. On the Air with FACC, the Filipino American Cancer Care on PHLV Radio.
Hello everyone! Good evening! Magandang gabi sa ating mga kababayan dito sa Amerika. Good morning, Philippines! Magandang umaga sa ating mga kababayan sa Pilipinas. My name is Josie Moralidad Azaiman. I'm the founder and president of the Filipino American Cancer Care. And tonight, syempre, kasama ko yung ating co-founder and executive vice president ng Filipino American Cancer Care, Ed Logan. Hi, Ed!
Hey, Josie. Thank God it's Friday again, and I know we're gonna miss Emmerich.
Yes.
He's not feeling well, so we pray for speedy recovery. But, you know, the show must go on, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what he said. So
I'm
Josie,
sure Emmerich is watching us right now, and get well soon to Ali.
So before we start, I know I can't control my excitement today, but can we restate what our upcoming event for the On the Air with FACC for the bingo? Josie,
Yes.
remind our viewers.
This is going to be on Saturday next week para po sa ating mga kababayan dito sa Amerika and doon naman sa Pilipinas. Pwede po kayong sumali kahit saang sulok pa ng mundo. Basta kailangan nyo lang magising. Now, on Saturday, February 27, 2021 at 7 p.m., we are going to have the Heart of FACC Charity Virtual Bingo Night. We're going to have guest singing artist and syempre yung ating mga cards, Ed, di ba? We are still selling our bingo cards. 9 cards, $20. And this will benefit yung mga batang may cancer doon sa Pilipinas.
And in addition to that, Josie, I want to remind them as well that there is a free submission for our contest of the letters of the heart. So you can dedicate this letter to anyone, okay? To anyone that touch your heart with kindness of someone.
Mm-hmm. For example, Ed, ikaw, pag sumulat ka, anong sasabihin mo?
Korean.
Oh,
No,
anong sasabihin mo kay Sue?
yeah, being a beloved wife, taking the role.
I know you're a good writer.
So, but anyway, ang ating mga viewers, kailangan po kayong mag-submit. You can submit it whether it's Tagalog or Taglish or pure English. We are accepting any of those forms of medium.
300 words, di ba?
The max. Yes, the max. Kasi hindi pwedeng nobela eh. Konti lang yung show natin, yung time. It's very limited. But, you know what? Again, we encourage everyone. This is free.
And not only that, no, para po sa ating mga listeners, followers, supporters, donors, itong love letter contest will inspire each and every one of us, no? At syempre, gusto kong iparating sa kanila na hindi lang po likes, no? Hindi to paramihan ng likes. We are going to have a judge para sa special category awards ng Love Letter Contest. Now, ang guidelines, I would like to read it if you don't mind, Ed. Letter must be original and you must be the author. Kayo po yung dapat na sumulat, hindi si Shakespeare. It can be dedicated to anyone but not limited to cancer patients, survivors, caregivers, medical professionals, and others. How about Ed? Pag sumulat ako ng Dear Ed, ilang buwan ka nang hindi nakakabayad ng utang mo sa akin. Pwede ba yan?
Does not touch with the kind, unless they allow you to stay in that for 1 year because of the kindness of that
Oh, it
person
should
you
be
are.
about kindness.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So, you should write a maximum of 300-word narrative in the first person point of view. Submit in Word document format and email it to philamcancercare2020 at gmail.com. Include your name, email, and telephone number. Any form of writing is also eligible such as, ano yun, Ed?
Ano ulit? What's your question? I'm sorry. Lost in the Tagalog. I'm switching my brain to English and
Uh-huh.
Tagalog. So,
Any form of writing is also eligible, such as poem.
a poem, and then they can do
Yes.
video. This is really a free for all that will also shows creativity as one of this criteria that we want to incorporate it in judging the entries. So
Yes, and the letters of love will be published on the Filipino American Cancer Care Facebook page. Si Johan, may nakahanda na yan na love letter. Ano? Napatanga.
no, even your
Nagugulat.
dog or your pets can
Uh-huh.
also be inspiring because those are the things that we really want to showcase in our show and then in our virtual bingo on next Saturday. So
Aha. And again, no, para sa ating mga viewers ngayon, yung mga beneficiaries po nitong ating virtual bingo fundraising event next Saturday, February 27, apat na mga bata. Can you imagine? They are suffering right now from acute lymphoblastic leukemia. 3 from Rojas City, or Panay Capiz and Poblacion Capiz and Aklan, no? Si Designa Blair Mihica, Seth Tacdeo, Adila Joyce Belioso, and Sofia Sorio Acevedo. Again, we are knocking at your hearts to support the Filipino American Cancer Care. Okay, Ed.
well,
Now,
as we continue the celebration of the entire month of February as the concept or the theme of heart, right?
mhm.
It's amazing tonight. I'm hoping that everyone who's listening really tune in tonight. And this is really dear to heart as well to me when I lost touch with Grace. So Grace, I met Grace. She was one of the young ambassador on the campus at Virginia Beach. So, but before
Oh, you met
I
her. You
oh,
met
of
her,
course,
Ed.
that's why this is a personal too. That's how I'm gonna
Oh,
introduce
you're
first.
friends with Grace.
Yes. So,
Okay.
but because of business of life here in America and also here in DC area, sometimes you lost touch with your friends, right? Anyway, I'll introduce first Dave. Okay, since
Mhm.
it's both of them will be our story tonight. So Dave Alegre was born on June 28th, 1970. Dave is the son of Cesar and Nelly Alegre from the Philippines and graduated from Green Run High School in 1996. He is a native in Virginia Beach. A
Mm.
military brat throughout his youth. He traveled to many locations while his father was in the U.S. Navy, and thank you for his service. Appreciating his parents' sacrifices, hard work to raise their family of 6, Dave credits his parents for allowing him and his siblings to live the American dream. It wasn't until he graduated high school that he discovered his talent for photography. So we're gonna hook Dave for our future events for that photography. And of course, film making.
Wow.
Age of 19. So Dave soon started a video business, learning the challenges along the way. His full-time company was Visionary Productions from 1996 to 2013.
Mhm.
In 2007, he surprisingly met Grace, and who was
2007.
yes, who was
Okay.
an inquiring client asking Dave to produce a tribute for her parents' 35th wedding anniversary. Hiring him to film the special event, he indeed impressed Grace with the tribute that he was presented and signaled him for a first dance over the microphone.
Mm.
And after that, the rest is indeed history. You can watch the full story of Dave and Grace on TLC. All right, so just plug in that history. It will show that from 2013 to 2018, Dave happily helped Grace with full-time caregiving for both her dad and mom before they went to heaven. In 2016, Dave again tried to restart his company, Green Thumb Studio, but the challenges were too difficult as his mother-in-law's health worsened. And in 2021, Dave started For Grace Media with a new purpose and inspiration that Grace left behind. Dave's most significant accomplishments are being a father of his two kids. Faith is the eldest, and she's 16 years old, and Nicholas is a 12-year-old. And he feels guiding them in the right direction in the life is honoring Grace and her legacy. And Dave believes that using his talents to help others will be with a profound empathy is now his life's mission and calling. So welcome tonight, Dave, and I'm reserving the story of Grace later. So that's right. Welcome.
Oh, welcome. Thank you. And there's probably one correction. I actually graduated in 1989.
Oh, sorry.
That was my typo. So
okay.
It's hard to keep track of all the years.
Well, you look young, so don't worry. So
Yeah, you look like, actually, he looks like 30 years old.
Oh, I'll take that.
Mhm. I'm not kidding. I'm serious.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I'm going to have to thank my parents because they probably have some good genes that caused that.
Nice. So, how did you start your relationship with your former wife?
My former
Grace?
wife. Well, let me see how I can start the story.
Was it a love at first sight, or what was it like?
I would say so. I can kind of rewind a little bit, kind of explain who I am. And of course, I went through, and I'll try to make the story really short. I went through high school, not really dating anybody. And of course, I would stay busy with my video production. And of course, I would watch my brother and sister go to prom. And I guess I was a little bit shy during high school. So then, after graduating after high school, I ended up starting my business, which is video production. And it was a business.
Why do you like, by the way, video production?
Because it started with photography and then it transitioned over to video. What I love about video is that it's so real. It's moving, you can hear it. But the only thing it doesn't capture is probably smell. That's the only sense it doesn't capture. So if you replay a video that was recorded back then, and I'm doing it now with my own wedding, you can look back and go back into time. And that's how powerful it is. So what I describe video like, it's like wine. It gets better as it gets older.
That's right.
That's the reason why I love video. And video is very powerful today. It's used in social media, and it's the way we're communicating today, like we're doing right here now. So yeah, to go back to the story, I went, after high school, I started my business. It fell in my lap. And next thing you know, because I got involved with the technology early, a lot of people wanted me to document their weddings. And of course, video didn't exist back then for people to utilize, especially today with the smartphones. So if you had the equipment, you were pretty much in demand. But at the same time,
you don't have a competition.
No, it was pretty much a monopoly at that point. And I started really early, and this was in the back in 1996. But to kind of fast forward, my wife, she called me out of the blue asking if I can do a tribute video for her parents. And of course, at that point, I still haven't dated anyone or found anyone.
Was that like a wedding anniversary?
Yes, it was a wedding anniversary, a 35th wedding anniversary. And that was around 1997. She called me and asked if I can do a tribute video.
But you don't really know each other personally.
No, we didn't. And the thing is, when she first called, I had a sense that I wanted to get to know her. I don't know why. I can sense it. And when I first met her to gather the pictures and videos from her, and I met her in person, I gave her a really long hug. And I said, wow, I like this person. But I didn't know that was a start of
something deeper.
Something, yeah.
Deeper and romantic.
Yes. So, with the next couple of months, I gathered all the pictures and I put the video together, and I really put my heart into it because I wanted to really impress her.
Okay.
And you kind of fast forward her parents' anniversary came up, and of course we turned down the lights and had everyone's attention towards the screen. And I would say it was a pretty moving tribute. And the one person that really got moved was Grace.
Wow.
She was so impressed with the video that she literally got on the
You
mic.
created.
Yeah, she was like, wow, I don't know. This touched my heart.
But what was your first impression about Grace?
I think I liked her while I was videotaping the anniversary because I noticed, and I have it on video, that she was looking at me and I was looking at her. And I just kept following her around during the anniversary. So I knew something was up.
Sulyap pala itong tao na to eh.
Yeah, and it was just one of those things where everything came together because once I showed the video, she literally got on the microphone and said, "I'm looking for a man to dance with." And I didn't know she was saying that to me. So once she said that, she grabbed my arm and pulled me into the middle of the dance floor, and we danced for the first time.
My gosh.
At her parents' anniversary. And it was at that moment.
She did the first move.
Yeah, and it's on video too.
Oh, I want to see that video. Okay.
Yeah, someone, my assistant at the time grabbed my camera and he started videotaping. You can actually see it on TLC A Wedding Story, the part where we're dancing. That's the one. That's the clip of us dancing together for the first time. So what's really ironic about that moment was I went through my teenage years and 20s watching, especially in my 20s, watching everyone fall in love because I videotaped weddings. And I always wished I can find a significant other, but it was at this anniversary that when we were dancing together, I realized this was going to be my wife.
Was she your first girlfriend?
I would say so, yes. Yeah.
Were you her first boyfriend?
Yeah, and it took my career.
Oh, everything is first.
Yeah. It literally took my career to find her. I don't know why. Maybe God had something to do with that. But the next day after her parents' anniversary, I gave her a call and I asked her if we can go on a date. And the next following weekend was Valentine's weekend, and our first date was on Valentine's weekend. And we went on a date, and of course, through the years we dated for about 3 years, and most of our dates, because I was so busy with weddings, were at other people's weddings. So our dates, she would show up at weddings and we would go together at people's weddings, and our date was at other people's weddings. But I proposed to her again 3 years later in a movie theater on Valentine's Day. I had a slideshow put together, or video put together, and it was a video that was going to show at the end of not at the end, but at a beginning of a movie. When they show the movie trailers, the movie trailers before a movie starts. Well, I prepared a slideshow, and we went into the theater and sat down, and she was looking up and she saw our pictures up on the screen in a movie theater.
Is it the two of you, Dave, or you with the other people in the movie theater?
Literally, there were friends hiding in the theater as well as strangers.
Okay.
So it was nerve-wracking because we almost missed the wedding not the wedding, but the movie, because we were coming from dinner, and I remember our waitress was taking so long, and I literally had to go find her in the kitchen and said, "You need to ring up our meal because I got to get to the movie theaters. I'm about to propose to someone." So once we got into the car, I think I was going over 95 or 100 miles per hour to the movie theater. And at the time, Grace was like, you are speeding. We can always catch the other movie. And I said, no, we can't. We need to catch this movie, because everyone was hiding in the theater and that video was going to play no matter what.
Yeah.
So literally I screeched in front of the movie theater, and I took her out of the car and I rushed her into the theater, leaving the car running while someone came out and parked our car. And she thought that was really strange. And then we ran into the theater and she says, "Are we going to buy a movie ticket or what?" And I said, "No, we're just going to come in the theater and watch this movie." So she thought something was weird. And we sat there, and within probably a minute or so, our images came up on the screen, and the last image said, "Would you be my Valentine's for the rest of my life?" And I got up and proposed to her inside that movie theater, in front of, a bunch of strangers and friends and family. So I don't know why I did that. I just wanted to do something really different and creative. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was appropriate because
she was very surprised.
She was really surprised. And I think that was a pretty unique way to propose at the time. Mm-hmm. But anyways, kind of fast forward, she told the story about how we met, how I proposed, and we were planning our wedding. And she was with a coworker, and a coworker told her, "You need to submit your story to this network, TLC, because they will probably pick you because it's such a fairy tale story." And she wrote that story, and a week before our wedding,
it was Grace who wrote that story.
She wrote the story, yes. I thought she was crazy, but she wrote it, and we were runner-ups out of thousands of entries. Mm-hmm. And producers called us and said, "You guys are going to be possibly picked out of thousands of entries, and we're going to give you a call." And they called us a week before our wedding and said, "You guys got picked. Your story is really unique." And they flew in a camera crew.
What year was that?
That was 2003.
2003, mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, and they flew in, and of course it was pretty nerve-wracking.
So what was it like to be on national television like TLC? And your love story is out there.
I'm going to describe it one way. I spent most of my life documenting weddings and videotaping other people. It was like a doctor having surgery done on himself. So it was like a camera crew videotaping another camera guy and his fiance. So it was a dream come true. I really, it was just amazing to be on national TV. And you got to remember, the internet didn't exist back then. Mm-hmm. YouTube didn't exist back then. So just to be on national TV was a major thing. And it was an exciting thing. It was almost like being in Hollywood. So the great thing about it.
And not only that, you are not, they consider you as a reality show celebrity.
Yeah, it was somewhat like the beginning of reality shows. It's pretty tame today. I don't think it's like the Kardashians, but it was a pretty tame show, TLC, A Wedding Story. But again, like I said, it was an amazing thing to be on a national TV show that aired for the next 8 years.
How long did it last?
For 8 years, filming? Continuous. What? It reran 8 years over and over again.
8 years, but you filmed that segment with your wife for how many months?
They came in a week before our wedding. They started taping like on Monday and taped us all the way through Friday, or through the wedding, through Saturday. So they were there for a good amount of days to document. So they interviewed me for about 6 hours and interviewed my wife for about 4 hours on camera.
Wow. Were they always following you?
Yeah, somewhat. Once they arrived, so they came in and followed us around Hampton Roads, and they asked if they can follow us to restaurants and
How about the restroom?
no, I wouldn't want to.
That's off limits, Josie. Okay.
They would have.
But you know,
Well,
this reality show, sometimes I cannot even understand if there's a script. You know, I always watch like the
Yeah.
90-Day Fiancé, Real Housewives,
yeah.
and everything. And sometimes they put this, what do you call that? Something like a scene that suddenly you're gonna feel like, I'm shocked. What am I watching here? Right?
Well, I'm going to explain what that is. That's called conflict, and that's called drama.
Oh,
when
they put
I
some
was-
drama. Okay.
Yeah, and that sells. That really sells, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think.
So does it
when-
mean did they try to manipulate you?
No, you have to remember 2003 was the beginning of reality shows.
Okay.
So it was pretty tame. And you kind of fast forward a little bit, a couple years later, reality shows started evolving into more of drama, and people want to watch drama, and drama makes you want to watch the next episode and see what's going to happen next. So a show like TLC, A Wedding Story Today, is not going to be the type of show that's going to probably air in today's people's expectations. But I'm very fortunate enough and glad that they had that show during the time when I had my wedding, and they were able to document, that one special day. So
Dave, just to our listener, just to give a little bit background of Grace, if you don't mind, I wanted to kind of give a little bit the background of Grace, right? So
Yeah.
I know she's also a local in Virginia Beach, born in South Carolina, but raised in in Virginia Beach. So if you can give a little bit background, her family background.
yeah, well, where I can start is. Where can I start? I will say she is a very positive, influential person, and she was that in my life. It's not easy to be married to an entrepreneur, and of course, as an entrepreneur, you do go through struggles and setbacks. And there was that one time where, of course, my business started to a little bit go downhill, because I had a lot of challenges as far as being burned out and overwhelmed with so many projects. But I remember one day Grace coming home and saying, "Dave, you do need to take a break, and I support you in your ventures, and I believe in you." And this was in 2013, and I had so many projects due that I couldn't fulfill because I was so burned out with my deadlines. And she said, "Dave, I'm going to help you out. I'm going to help get those projects done financially. And I'm going to, get those people that are, of course, I would say after you, because I had people, wanting to bring me to court. And I'll be transparent, wanting to bring me to court for the projects I had due." And she said, I want to finish those projects because they're actually looking for you, and they're calling me at my work. And any other wife would have divorced you by now. But Dave,
She was very supportive.
She was, even through the tough times. And she says, I'm gonna go cash out on some of my investments and pay those people back. But at the same time, I'm gonna go ahead and have you hire the two best editors you can find to help you get those projects finished. Because there are people that want to take us to court and bring us to the dry cleaners. And I felt so little at that moment, but then I was like, wow, I don't know what kind of wife would have done this. The one thing she said was, take a break and your season's going to come one day. I promise you.
She was your greatest motivator.
She was. And, that was 2013. And at that moment, I stayed home. I took care of the kids, and I wanted to return it back to her. And the way I did it was, what, let me help take care of Dad who's sick at the moment. Let me take care of Mom. And I told her, move Mom into our home, and I'm going to take care of Mom. And while I take care of Mom, you go you go and get your doctorate that you want to get, Grace. I'm going to support you with that, because I wanted to help her with her dreams too, because she helped me with mine. And I pushed her and she got her doctorate during that process. Now, her mom got sick and finally passed away in 2018. And that was in December. And January turns around, which is 2019. My wife was diagnosed with cancer in 2019. So,
Okay. Dave,
Yeah.
before we talk about her cancer journey,
yeah.
we have a special song for you from one of our special guests tonight.
Okay.
Since this is the love month, okay, we are dedicating a special song for you, and of course
thank
for
you.
Grace. I know she's watching us tonight. Okay, our special guest singing artist tonight is also from Virginia. She was born on August 4th, 2004. Her hobbies are dancing, singing, writing essay, and reading books. And she likes sports like American freestyle karate, CrossFit, and figure skating. Some of her achievements: 3 times gold medalist in May Day Open and Compete USA Maryland, gold medalist in Falling Leaves figure skating competition in Richmond, silver medalist in Subway Commonwealth Games in Charlottesville, Virginia. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Brianna Meiko Sabanal Sotomil.
나에게 다가왔잖아.
Sabanas, Did you like it?
Yeah, that was nice.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Now, Johan, if you don't mind, no, kung pwede nating ipakita yung mga pictures ni Grace. Now, Ed, I have a question for Dave. If okay lang sa'yo, Ed?
Yeah.
Dave, what events lead up to her cancer diagnosis, and how did you or her discover that? How did you discover that what she was suffering was cancer? Paano nyo nalaman?
It was 2019, and it was January. We were cleaning her mom's home in Norfolk, and she started coughing, and we thought it was the dust that she was coughing from, and then she started coughing more and more, and she went to the I think she went to the hospital, and they thought it was probably pneumonia. So for a whole month, they thought it was pneumonia. So that was, I would say, around February, probably the beginning of March, when they did more tests. They found out it was non-small lung cancer, and that pretty much was pretty devastating for the family. Yeah.
Dave, when you heard, when they mentioned about the cancer thing, were you with her? Or
Yes.
did she go over herself and tell you the?
Yeah, I was with her. I knew something was wrong when the doctor said, "Can you have your kids step out for a moment?" And then, it wasn't just one doctor; it was a few doctors, and they sat there, and you can just tell on their face it didn't look like it was something good. And when they gave the diagnosis, our world turned upside down, and that was I would say that was around probably March or April. So after that, it escalated. It just got worse. Now, she had a lung cancer that only hits 1% of the population. It's non-smokers, and they suggested that she takes a pill. It's a chemo pill. And she started taking that. And I would say after she took it, she started getting a little bit better. And from what the doctor said, or the oncologist said, there was a good success rate based on statistics. But after 3 months, I would say around July, it actually got worse. And they were blown away, because they said, usually there's a good response to this chemo pill. But for her, the cancer decided to be more aggressive.
Did you ever try to get a second opinion at the time?
Well, what happened was I went back to her oncologist, and he said there's a second pill that's designed that might help, that was designed just recently. So I was on the telephone for almost a good amount of hours trying to get that pill overnight to the hospital, because I wanted her to get on it immediately. And it was very nerve-wracking to get the pharmacy to release it, because each of these bottles were $10,000 a bottle.
Yes.
It was like 300 something per pill. So I finally got it to her in July. I think that was around the end of July. And she responded really well to it again. But that was the only last type of pill that was available in it. And the sad part, I would say July, August, I'd say around August, it stopped working again. So then my oncologist stopped calling us for some odd reason, because I kept calling him and he wouldn't return our phone calls. So I got in my car, drove to his office. I pretty much ran through his receptionist, found his office, found him in his office, shut the door, and I said, "What do we need to do? You haven't called us in 3 weeks." And he pretty much didn't know what to do. He was almost scared himself, and that scared me. The only thing he told me is go to Boston and get that second opinion from the oncologist that designed those 2 pills. They would know the best direction to go with her treatment. So immediately after that, she was on a plane and we were on our way to Boston. And when I got to Boston with Grace, I don't know what it is, but the care in Boston was so much better. And I said, why can't we have this care in Virginia? And I'm not knocking Virginia. It was just so different. And they got her back on track.
Did you go to Georgetown as well, right? Did you do some check as well?
We did after Boston because we couldn't stay in Boston long because our insurance wasn't going to, of course, cover everything. So I think the thing that kept us in Boston for about a week was after Grace, they put her on normal chemotherapy, and that got her back on track, and she started feeling better. So after that, we went to the hotel, and we were on our way back to the hospital, Mass General, to go ahead because they wanted to do a follow-up. On our way to Mass General, the most difficult thing happened, and I remember this. Grace just couldn't breathe. And I remember we were in that car, and the Uber driver, I was literally screaming at the Uber driver, hurry up to the hospital. She can't breathe. And she was literally turning blue. And I didn't know what to do. I almost was going to jump out of the car and chase a police officer down the street that I saw because there was traffic.
Escort you on that.
Yes. and luckily, you know, he got us through, and I pushed her inside that in the hospital, and immediately she couldn't breathe, and I pushed her into that emergency room, and they literally just went after her and started trying to revive her, and they got her back on track, and we ended up staying there another week at Boston. I think we were there for 2 weeks.
What was her last words?
Hold on. No, wait. I would ask first.
Well,
that told the kids, because in the beginning, right?
Yeah, that when well,
did you guys share it with your kids?
Well, my kids weren't with us in Boston. What happened was she recovered, and the doctor that made those 2 pills is a renowned, famous oncologist, and she came in and she was so shocked with Grace's recovery, and she was like so happy, and Grace was like talking and talking with the nurses, and the nurses were I remember I went to lunch and I came back and the nurses ran into me and they said, "Is that your wife in that room?" And I said, "Yes, that's my wife. She's an amazing, positive person. We've never had a patient like that before." And she recovered, and our doctors told us, you might want to have your kids fly into Boston and your sister and brother-in-law. And they flew in to see her because we didn't know if she was going to make it. And she recovered so much. They were going to fly her on a special flight, but she was cleared to go ahead and fly on a commercial flight. So she flew in back to Virginia. And of course, I didn't want to come back to Virginia. And, you know, about a week later after that, she got worse again. And I was so hesitant to bring her to, you know, the hospital over here, and it was hard. And they transported her for the last time from one hospital to the other in Norfolk. And to make a long story short, you know, the doctors came in. They, you know, when a ton of doctors are coming in the room and looking at you and saying,
was she able to say goodbye to you?
No, she was incubated at that moment. The hardest part was when the doctors said, they brought me in a room with my sister and brother-in-law, and they put up the screen and they said, look what's going on in your wife's body. The cancer is not just in her lungs. It's now in her pancreas. It's in her stomach. It's everywhere. There's nothing we can do.
It metastasized.
Yes, and it was so like just normal news for them to tell me. And they looked at me and they said, "Dave, we want to ask if we can put her in palliative care." And I said, "What's palliative care?" That's allowing her to be more comfortable and ease her death. And I said, "I need to think about this." And they left the room, and I had to sit there and think about it because I didn't want her to go. but it was a hard decision to make. And the nurse pulled me to the side and kind of educated me that, Dave, we can't do anything, and we can't revive her. And if we do revive her, it's not going to be an easy thing for her, because to revive her is breaking ribs. If she, if she loses her, if she goes into cardiac arrest. But I think the hardest part was when they told me that night she might go in cardiac arrest. So I sat in that room with my relatives, holding her hand through the night, listening to
Okay, Dave, don't take time, because
we also have cancer.
Yeah, I had to listen to those machines go off.
What was it like then for you?
And anytime those alarms went off, I thought that's when she was going to go in cardiac arrest. But luckily, she made it through the night. I stood by her side, and eventually, as her vitals went down to almost nothing, the family came in. We called the kids in, and we just watched her take her last breath. And it's hard. It's a hard thing to watch.
How did you explain her death to your children?
Well, my children are so strong, and I'll tell you why. Because when my mother-in-law moved into our home, they had to grow up quick, and they grew up quick when my mother-in-law had Alzheimer's, and they saw what suffering is, and they knew what it meant to take care of. So when their mom passed away, they were actually stronger than I was, and they still seem stronger. But I don't know what it is. I think kids tend to process things differently, and they're more worried about me than I'm worried about them.
How did you move on?
The only way I can move on is to wake up every morning and count my blessings, be thankful for what has happened in my life and in my kids' life, to look at things in a different point of view. I know Grace would want me to look at things that way. Anytime my mind goes into an area where I think of should haves and could haves, things I could have done differently, because I struggled with that. Why didn't I take her to a better doctor? Maybe I could have, I could have been a better husband. All these things. Guilt. And I tend to do that because I'm a creative. I can do that with my editing. I can go back and change the story, but I can't do that with my past.
You can control.
I can't control that. And that's hard. And, that's the one thing I had to overcome in 2020. And I think I'm a lot better now in accepting that things are the way they are and you can't control it. And then I started having more anxiety about the future, about what's going to happen in 2 years or 10 years from now.
Do you also have fears about cancer?
I actually have fear about nothing now.
Oh, yeah?
Because, when you go through something like that, nothing is scary to do. I think there's a good thing when you go through a traumatic situation, that you become stronger than you think. You are stronger than you think when you're in that position. So being just on this show for me would have been terrifying. But I always tell myself, anytime I'm afraid to do anything, I just remember that day that Grace passed away. There's nothing more afraid than watching that. So
do you sometimes feel her presence?
Of course, because she's inside of me. We were technically in our marriage one. I would say the last 5 years, we really were in tune with each other, and we completed each other's sentences, and we knew each other from that point. I really knew what it meant to be a husband, up to the point when she passed away. But I would say the last 5 years, because we became one as husband and wife, because she's not here, she still is here. She's in my heart. And sometimes when I ask myself, should I do a certain thing? I can hear what Grace would tell me to do. She doesn't have to be here. I would know what she would exactly tell me. That's how close I was with her.
What did you do with her belongings?
Actually nothing. It's only been 14 months or 13 months so far. Her clothes are still inside the closet where she left them. I don't think I'm ready to pack them away. I haven't moved anything that she put in place in the home. So I think there'll be a time when I'll be strong enough to move on and move those things. But it's a process.
Yes, it is process there. And then I just want to ask you, what can you share to our listeners, especially to the husband, who probably they can just start the journey of cancer either themselves or with their wives. I know our show, we want to educate them, at the same time shared some lessons along the journey. I know it's different in each journey, but
yes,
what would you be able to share to them?
Well, from my experience, for the widows and widowers and people dealing with cancer, there's a rainbow. You have to have faith that there's a rainbow at the end of this tunnel. You're never going to recover. It's going to always be a scar. And, but there's nothing wrong moving forward. It doesn't mean you're forgetting, but just remember there are brighter days ahead. You have to believe in that. I would recommend, reach out to good friends and family. I've been fortunate to have such a good support group and good friends that have been there for me. Of course, in the process, you do know who your friends are. There were a lot of friends that did disappear when we went through this, but that's okay. People react differently, and I would just tell them, just be strong and have faith and count your blessings. Like I said, look at the things that has happened in your life that you're proud of and you're fortunate to have. I'm so happy that I have 2 kids to live for. I'm so glad I have a roof over my house. Those are the things you need to keep account of, because if you look at the negative things, you're going to get depressed. And
that's right.
You can't look at those things, and you've got to look forward to life. I know that's easy for me to say, but that's the only thing I have to look forward to. I've got to live life to its fullest. And I know that's what Grace would want me to do. And she inspires me to this day to do that. So it is different for everybody. If you can reach out to others that are going through the same struggle, because those friends that have gone through the same thing are going to be able to relate to what you're going through. And just be strong and stay healthy. I think exercising helps for my situation also. If you can exercise or stay busy and get back into what you love to do, which for me is video, then you'll be okay. I decided to get back into my passion, which is video production, and that helps me want to live life. And that's the one thing that allowed me to meet Grace was because of my video production. She hired me to do that tribute video for her. So I think honoring her is to do well for the kids.
Yes, indeed. And as I mentioned from the beginning of our show, Ray's personality, the smile, and she's very outspoken, and now you're opposite, right? So she touched so many lives, especially in campus at Region, her co-workers. It's just amazing.
I will tell you one thing. When I first married her, she would go to work. I remember going to her work for the first time, and I saw her up on stage communicating. She was public speaking in front of hundreds of people. And I was like, is that my wife? And she was so confident in her speaking abilities. And then she would come home and she would be that wife. And she adored being my wife. And she was such a strong-willed person and inspirational person. but I would say I grew up. I grew as a person just being her husband. She inspired me, and I see a lot of traits that are now coming out of myself that were part of her. You know, just being able to speak here and to try public speaking is an inspiration because of her. But she was definitely an alpha wife in a sense, a very driven wife. But she would never overshadow me. She would come home and she would always say, Dave, you're the husband, and I want you to be the husband, and you make all the decisions for our family. And whatever decisions you make, I will respect it. And there have been decisions that I did make that didn't work out so well, but she would never come back and sit down and say, look, you messed up. She would always say, okay, how can we fix this together? And never blame me for anything that I made decisions on for our family. So she was very, she was a special person. I'm not just saying that. So, you know, I love her to death. I still love her to death, and I will always, because, yeah.
Thank you, Dave. You know, it's just a lot of emotion. As you mentioned to me, personally, that month of February is a very special month to you personally and with Grace. A lot of history, and that's why I'm just blessed that you shared, and hopefully all our listeners as well enjoyed the story and honoring the memory of Grace. And I know,
you know what, Ed? I'm thinking right now. I hope Dave doesn't mind. Dave, do you mind if we're gonna share some of your videos with her on our Facebook page?
Yeah, you can. I mean, I just recently put it on my Facebook page.
I just want to inspire others, especially with her love story. You know what I mean, Ed?
Yeah,
Okay.
you can share it, and it's been out there for so many years. Even myself, when I watched it, I actually started crying. it's just, you know, they're memories now. They're wonderful memories.
And Dave, to tell your kids, Faith and Nicholas, we are so you know, excited in the future to meet them as well in person. Hopefully, after this COVID-19, we'll have events that the Filipino American Cancer Care sponsoring you guys be able to participate as well. So.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you one thing. My two kids are a carbon copy of her mom. So give it about, you know, 5 to 10 years, you're going to see a lot of traits coming out of them that were from their own mom. I can see it. So, you know, Grace really left an impression on them. Yeah.
And thank you so much, Dave, again, for sharing your story and this special tribute to Grace. Again, keep that smiling face, okay?
I try to.
Yeah. I'm sure Grace, she wants to see you smiling.
She does. And, you know, I love to smile. You know, it makes you feel better.
And it's free, and it's like contagious.
Yeah.
That's how we want to spread, is the smile.
Yes, everybody should smile when they feel down.
Yes. Stay positive, and we hope to see you here in Virginia.
Yes, and thank you for allowing me to be a guest, and hopefully I can somehow help others too. My empathy is bigger than ever. I hope one day I can find a position where I can help someone that's going through the same thing, because I get it. And I don't know where I can place myself, but I know somehow or some way, I just want to help. I just know it's not an easy journey to have cancer and to be in that pain and struggle. It affects everybody in the family. It's not just
the cancer victim, even the caregiver like you.
No, it's everybody is affected in the family, and I just want to be there because a lot of people helped me and my family, and I know what that feels like. So one day, somehow or some way, whether it's with my talents or gifts or my time, I want to help others in the future.
Okay. Thank you so much again, Dave Alegre from Virginia Beach. And thank you,
you.
Ed Logan and Johan sa PHLV Radio.
Thank you.
Maraming salamat po. And next week, magkita tayo muli dito sa PHLV Radio on the air with FACC.
The Filipino American Cancer Care has just brought you On the Air with FACC, tributes and support to those impacted by cancer. On the Air with FACC, the Filipino American Cancer Care on PHLV Radio.
This is your Filipino radio experience in Las Vegas. PHLV Radio.